Good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday, August 29th, and we have some very remarkable stuff on the weather map this afternoon. One thing that everyone knows about, and we're going to discuss it in just a couple of minutes, is the hurricane that moved on shore Louisiana just before noon today, Central Daylight Time. The other thing that nobody knows about is the strong storm system of a barometric pressure of 29.2 moving through the Canada area. That storm system has a pretty well-defined cold front that's going to be moving through the Chicago area tomorrow, but as it moves south, that cold front's going to weaken. The real defined cold front comes in really more on Tuesday. That's going to be the one that's going to be affecting the St. Louis area. Chicago should see lower temperatures already by tomorrow, but again, that front is weakening. It's probably going to just be a washout by the time it hits southern areas like Missouri and places like that. They're going to have to wait until Tuesday evening to get the more well-defined cooler air from Canada. That's the storm system that nobody knows about. In fact, many of the synopsis for the Great Lakes from the National Weather Service doesn't even discuss this 29.2 barometric pressure system. Some of them do, however, and that's going to be the one bringing in the cooler air. It's going to have a very significant impact on the Chicago weather. This is what's going to be bringing the heat wave to an end. We just saw 6 consecutive days here in the Chicago area with temperatures in the 90s, assuming it hit 90 degrees today. That's the longest streak of 90s we've seen this entire summer. Now, much of the summer, we did not see high temperatures in the 90s. We saw highs in the 80s, but nonetheless, we were in the air mass of heat and humidity. Therefore, I believe it was a warm summer. Whenever we got Canadian air, temperatures dropped, but temperatures just dropped to about normal. So when you average it all out, it's almost for sure has been an above normal summer. I mean, I'm sure it has, and we'll have to see how much above normal when those final statistics come out from the National Weather Service. Cooler air has also moved into the New England area. But one thing that's important, I think, to keep in mind is that there's no real indicator that fall is on the way right now, because that front also moved south of our area towards the end of July. It brought high temperatures, upper 70s and low 80s. Dew points dropped to 48 degrees at the end of July. We also saw cooler air a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, dew points never really dropped below 60. Maybe it dropped into the mid-50s for a short period of time. But so once again, we're having cooler Canadian air coming down here with high temperatures. Some say mid-70s, but some say the models are overdoing it in that dropping temperatures and highs might actually remain in the 80s all week. A return of that heat and humidity comes right back for Friday and Shabbos. That just shows you how far south that front's going to be going. Not very far south. It's not like a fall weather pattern where the front goes all the way through Florida, remaining north of Miami, but that front probably north of Houston, Texas as well. It's not going to be like that this time around. We're going to see a return of that front, bringing warmer and more humid air right back into the Chicago area by Friday and Shabbos. For those people that hate the humidity, the good news is that when this air returns, when the heat and humidity returns, there's a possibility that the dew points might not be as high as they have been. That's because some of the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico is going to get cut off. There's something going on down there which is going to cut off that moisture. So it could be that dew points are going to be a little bit lower this time around. However, if the dew points are lower, those temperatures are going to be a little bit higher to make up for all of that energy that the dew points usually absorb. If we don't have those dew points, temperatures might actually end up being a little bit higher. The good news in regards to that is that the heat dome is not going to be that intense. So high temperatures at best, probably low 90s. We'll call it for highs in the mid-80s to low 90s for both Friday and Shabbos. The heat indices probably somewhere in the mid and upper 90s. It's those thunderstorm chances on Shabbos that might be keeping afternoon highs down, with highs only in the mid-80s. So this week, we really can split up the week into, I would say, 4 different air masses. Number 1 is the one today, which is the final day of the heat wave with temperatures in the 90s, high humidity, more wind today than yesterday, so it felt hotter yesterday. And also we've already had 2 complex of thunderstorms that have moved through the Chicago area already today. Then tomorrow we get the cooler air, but the real cool air doesn't come in until Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And the real cool air might not actually end up being that cool, but a little bit drier than even tomorrow. And then we see the heat and humidity come back. That's going to be air mass number 4 for Friday and Shabbos, where dew points might be a little bit lower than what they have been up until now. We're eventually also going to see some cooler air move into Baltimore, but until then, heat and humidity continue for the Baltimore area for today, tomorrow, with temperatures in the 90s, heat indices approaching 100, possibly even higher than 100. Chicago and South Bend peak heat indices between 95 and 100 degrees today, possibly over 100 degrees for the St. Louis area. The dog days of summer ended really after the first week of August for St. Louis, after the third or fourth week of July for the Chicago area. But the dog days of summer continue for Houston, Texas. Summer is still at peak. Summer is peak heating right now. Normal high for mid-July in Houston, Texas, 94 degrees. Normal high today, also 94 degrees. We're going to see a continuation of highs in the mid-90s for the rest of the week.